Today, I'll be embarking on one of New Zealand's most beautiful great walks. This is the Routeburn Track.
Absolutely. Incredible, beautiful, magical.
For the next 3 days, I'll be joining Ultimate Hikes and a group of keen hikers on this fully guided walk. This means all of the accommodations, all the meals, all the gear and the transports are included. But at a price of nearly 2,000 New Zealand dollars, is it really worth it?
This is absolutely epic.
Well, we've got some bad weather rolling in and we're not really sure how this is going to pan out. So I invite you to sit down and relax and let me transport you to one of the most beautiful places in the world. Right, just before we start off this adventure, I want to give a quick mention to the beautiful little town of Anau.
Okie dokie, good morning and welcome to the beginning of the Routeburn. So I'm about to get picked up from this glorious little town of Anau, and I just want to give this place a little bit of love because after the Milford Track, which by the way was absolutely amazing, and you'd like to watch me do the 5-day Milford Track hike with Ultimate Hikes, I'll link it in the description. You can watch it after this if you haven't already. But they dropped me off here. I had a night accommodation at the Lakefront Backpackers Hostel, which had dorm rooms and private rooms, and I booked a little teepee, and it was beautiful. Got a great night's sleep, nice and warm and cozy in the tent, and a good clean shower, and a nice fish and chip supper in the town with a can of pop. And this town is one of those towns that if you pass by, you will wish you were staying longer. Anau is also home to some multiple day hikes and day hikes that are completely free over in the mountains behind me, up in Luxmore Mountains. There's a famous hike, and you take one of the boats across the water and you hike up into those mountains for a few days. You can also do a day hike. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to mention Anau is because it's so beautiful. So I am a bit gutted that I was only here for 1 day. But alas, I'm heading into town where I'm gonna get picked up, get back on the bus with a few of the hikers from the Milford Track, a few of the guides from the Milford Track, and we're gonna go up to the beginning of the Routeburn Track, and we're gonna start that hike together today. It's going to be 3 full days of hiking, so a lot shorter than the Milford. So it is a little bit cheaper, but I wouldn't say the word cheap in a sentence about this hike. But we'll get onto that throughout and later in the video. Is it really worth it? One does simply not come into Anau without trying Miles Better pies. I've gone for a lamb and plum sauce pie, a nice hot cappuccino, and a sausage roll for one of the guides, because in the last hike I rushed ahead and he had to come and chase me down, and I think it took him about 45 minutes of running as fast as he could up the hike to stop me from going too far ahead, because as we'll get into in this video, there are some rules about hiking in a group which I didn't know at the time, including going quickly. So I'm going to give him a sausage roll to say sorry.
Right, let's jump on our bus and make our way to the trailhead.
I got you a sausage roll.
Oh, what?
Yeah, because I felt bad for you chasing me the other day.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
No worries.
Ultimate Hikes provide transport from Queenstown or Anau to the start of the trailhead. And once we'd had a little briefing, we soon arrived, picked up our packed lunches and got ready to begin.
Okay, we have officially been dropped off at the beginning of the Routeburn hike, and it is drizzling and misty and mysterious. But we will be in the tree line for most of it, so I don't think I'm going to need my waterproof or my rain jacket or even my little brolly, which a lot of people take the piss out of me for having, but actually does a really good job. Let's begin the Routeburn Track officially together right now.
As you can see here, the Routeburn Track is broken down into 3 days. Day 1 and 2 are mostly uphill, and then day 3 we come back down.
Alrighty, here we are. Let's go.
Even with the weather, everyone was in good spirits, but the first morning was rather uneventful, to be honest. We simply made our way up through the tree line for the first hour or 2. The forests are stunning, and the mosses that grow all over the trees here were flourishing in this drizzly weather. After a while, we were told there's an optional 45 to an hour detour to a viewpoint called Key Summit, and as you can see from this picture, it boasts incredible views of the valleys and mountains below. Most of the group decided not to do it, but I decided to go up there for 2 reasons. The first was the guide I was chatting to was from the UK, and we were having a great chat, and since he was going up there, I wanted to just keep chatting to him and ask him questions about life as a guide here.
Absolutely beautiful.
And the second reason was I wanted to gamble and hope that the clouds would clear, or that we would simply gain enough elevation to peer up and over those low-laying rain clouds. But as you can see, unfortunately, the gamble didn't pay off.
Okay, our little side quest to the viewpoint wasn't completely not worth it, because it's good to just stay warm and see this really unique alpine forest, which apparently we won't see anything similar to this for the rest of the hike. So it was quite unique, a few carnivorous plants and things like that. And just good to meet the new guide and walk through the mossy forest of New Zealand, which is just a pleasure in any weather.
Anyway, these things happen when you hike. It's totally part of the experience, especially here in New Zealand. So let's catch up with the group and find a spot to eat our packed lunch.
Okay, lunch was absolutely delicious. From Fur Burger, no less. Vegetarian sandwich stuffed with halloumi, red pesto, green pesto, peppery rocket, and aubergines. Soft, gooey coconut muffin, and a little cereal bar that was actually full of Rice Krispies and cranberries. It was incredible, and a fresh apple. One thing I have learned from my Milford Track experience is this hike is severely lacking in chocolate. So I bought myself a nice bar of chocolate, which I'll be breaking off nibble by nibble, day by day. One thing I can't really live without is chocolate. That is a bit of a deal breaker for me. Anyway, as you can see, the hut is in the misty wind. We're going to be heading up and up and up and up now, all the way till camp. So whether we get any views, I'm not quite sure. So let's just meet up with the group. I've just had a nice quiet lunch on the park bench. And yes, we're going up into the misty mountains. I hope the weather does improve. More updates soon.
Day 1 was turning out to be a nature walk in comparison to an epic mountain pass that I had envisioned. But we still have plenty of distance left to cover, so let's put this poor weather to one side and keep positive.
Absolutely. Incredible, beautiful, magical. Just heaven on earth.
The path was easy, the path was gorgeous, and thankfully, unlike the Milford Track, since my pace was a little bit faster than the group's, I was actually allowed way more freedom to hike ahead of the group and go at my own slightly faster pace.
One of the things I'm noticing is it's a bit more relaxed and chilled out. The Milford Track, we had to stay together. It was a bit more controlled. This one seems way more laid back, which so far I appreciate. I just want to be on my own, exploring this wondrous, magical place.
And so as I continued the hike pretty much all alone, there wasn't really that much else to report other than this beautiful waterfall.
Don't fall.
And of course, just turn after turn of incredible beautiful ferns, mosses, trees, and plenty of birds dropping by to say hello. So after about 3 hours of peaceful hiking, where I had lots of time to reflect and simply soak up this magical part of the world, I finally reached the lodge where we would be staying for the night.
Okie dokie, welcome to Mackenzie Lodge. Home for the night. And since I'm first at the lodgings, I can show you around the entire place without anyone worrying that I'm going to accidentally film them getting changed or something in the dorm room.
So, welcome to the Mackenzie Lodge, our first accommodation here on the Routeburn track. Just like on the Milford Track, Ultimate Hikes provide these incredible accommodations as part of the ticket price, and they have comfortable social areas, refreshing welcome drinks on snacks when you arrive from the trail. They have these amazing drying rooms where you can dry all of your hiking gear and your hiking boots, perfect after a rainy day like today. There's plenty of tea and coffee machines on hand, and these lodges are just a great place to sit, relax, make friends with the other hikers, and just enjoy the views. But before we can do any of that, we need to bagsy our dorm bed and have a hot shower. The good thing about getting to the room first is I can choose the bed. I think I'm sharing with three South Korean guys. So where do I choose? Do I go bunk bed? Obviously, no one wants the top bunk, but I think two of them might want to sleep together. I definitely don't want to take this and then find out someone has to sleep with me in the double bed. So I think we'll go with the single bed here against the wall. That makes the most sense. Plus I can charge my phone and my camera right here. Obviously, there's no signal up here, guys. When you do the Routeburn, or any of the ultimate hikes, they tell you no Wi-Fi signal. So let your loved ones and work know that you're going off grid, which is one of the highlights of the whole thing. It's incredible just to switch off. I should also mention, you don't have to stay in a dorm room. That's just the cheapest option. You can book yourself a private room, have a look on their website, and choose the room according to your budget. So once everyone else had finally arrived and showered, it was time for some cheese and snacks. Thank you very much. A much needed boost of energy. And then the sun came out. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to end the day by walking down to the nearby lake and soak up some of the sun's rays and have a glass of wine before an early night. So thankfully the weather has cleared and the sun has come out just before dinner. So I took a little stroll over to Lake Mackenzie itself and just enjoyed a little bit of peace and quiet with the birds and the campers. So there are some huts there. That's where a lot of the wild campers will be. There's some accommodation and there's a campsite. Obviously we're hiking with Ultimate Hikes, so we're in the posh cabin getting fed in a minute. But to feel the sun is beautiful. And as you can see behind me, blue skies and the mountains have finally come out. It makes a whole world of difference, as you can imagine. So it's been nice to just relax and soak up some of these much needed rays after a bit of a drizzly, moist first day. Let's go and have a look at dinner. Ultimate Hikes provide excellent dinners, and each day you get an option of 3 mains to choose from. Usually a meat dish, a fish dish, and a veggie or a vegan option. Today I wanted to try the vegetarian curry with rice, and it was delicious. After dinner, it was time for a glass of red wine and a group briefing about tomorrow's mountain pass and an awful weather forecast. Then it was time for bed, time to recharge because tomorrow would be the hardest day. The group and I all went to bed a little bit worried about the weather forecast. Didn't look very good. Oh dear. Let's see what tomorrow holds. A quick message from the sponsor of my channel, Squarespace, the perfect place to go if you need to build a website. Now, if you don't know anything about web design, just like me, don't worry, because I used one of their award-winning templates and then I simply amended it, changed it, added my own elements, and I started selling products, started selling services, and updating my blog post anytime I need to, because you don't need your computer every single day. You can actually update your website on the go using their amazing app. And they're harnessing the power of AI with their new AI-led feature, Design Intelligence, where you basically tell this AI what your website should look like, who it's for, what you're trying to do with the website in general, and the AI will actually just build it for you. If you think this sounds too good to be true, just go to Squarespace. It's completely free to build the website. But when you are ready to go live, come back to this video and click the link in the description, because you'll get 10% off your first website or domain at squarespace.com/Paddy Doyle. You can click the link in the first line of the description. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to having adventures in New Zealand. It's worth mentioning that each morning there's a sandwich station where you can make your own packed lunch, whether that be a wrap or a couple of sarnies, grab some snacks and some fruit. And then we had our cooked breakfast of bacon and poached eggs, and it was absolutely delicious. Okay, good morning. And we've had our breakfast, we've made our sandwiches, and now we've got 45 minutes extra to kill before we actually set off. One difference between the Routeburn and the Milford is that we set off much later. Gives us way more time to relax in the morning. Normally, we would be out the door on the trail by 7:30, but we're not leaving here till 9:15, which is a long time to slowly get ready, which is nice. Just before we set off, it was time for the group photo, something no group hike could possibly happen without. The forecast today was that there was a huge storm making its way up and over the mountains to where we would be hiking. We were told to expect heavy rains and strong winds. The forecast also said that the strongest winds and the heaviest rains were due in the afternoon, so my plan was to get a move on and make it across the mountain pass way before any winds could blow me off the side of the mountain. So let's get cracking and let's see how the rest of the day unfolds.
Here comes the rain. Just a light drizzle, but beautiful views none the same. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get up high over this mountain ridge and see into the next valley and beyond. But yeah, good fun, good fun. Rain or shine.
Even though the next few hours of hiking were going to be really tough, with these surroundings, all I could feel was an overwhelming sense of joy. Just before we reached the pass and went face first into the winds, it was time for a quick hot drink.
Hot cup of Milo, anyone?
Honestly, these hot drink stops are a godsend. There's nothing better than having a hot chocolate and a quick chat on the side of a mountain. Once we reached the pass above the tree line, the winds were very strong. I tried to vlog, but you just couldn't hear me.
Okay, it's been quite exposed up here. I seem to have a light break in the wind so I can talk to you. It has been very, very windy. But yeah, that little stretch behind me along that ridge where you can see all the other people behind me, they're going to get absolutely battered by that wind. Whew. Good fun though.
Yeah, it wasn't just those behind me who would get the full brunt of these winds. It would also smash me for the next hour or so whilst we traversed this exposed ridge.
It looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. And sometimes you don't get a lick of wind and then you turn the corner and it's like gale force, you know?
And as you can see, the weather forecast, the winds for today and the following one would reach gusts of over 110 kilometers per hour. We were hiking right on the limit of what is considered safe. Any stronger and we would have to abandon the walk, turn back and head for shelter. During this ridge walk, the winds would gust and then the winds would calm, as did the rains. One minute it would pour and lash down, and then the next it would subside into a light drizzle. The views, however, sadly did not really reveal themselves too much. Not yet, anyway. Stay tuned for those, they're gonna be epic, I promise. But I did capture this tiny glimpse.
They take biosecurity so strictly in New Zealand, and it's actually quite a good thing because this stream is actually one of the only streams in the mountains here that is infested with this very toxic type of algae. Luckily, it's actually only growing in this one mountain stream. So there's a strict rule, cannot drink from it, cannot touch it, cannot put your feet in it, as it would spread to the other streams and rivers. And as you can see, it doesn't look very nice. Time for lunch.
This cabin was warm, welcoming, and quickly filled up with cold and windswept hikers. The weather outside looked like it was only getting worse, so I decided to push on, layer up one more time, and head outside into the miserable weather. It was nice and warm in there with my fleece on and my woolly hat, and now I've had to put on all the wet gear again to get to the end of the day's hike. Only an hour and a half, but it is up and then down. Little did I know that the weather on the other side of the ridge was much better, and the true beauty of the Routeburn was about to fully reveal itself to us. I mean, look at this. This is absolutely epic. Gorgeous. Stunning. Look at the colour of this rock. Almost green. Or teal. Wow. I think we're going to take off this rain jacket. The sun is coming out, look, right here. Are we going to get the sun on our beautiful faces? I'm sure that any hikers watching this video can relate to the feeling of hiking in the cold, windy rain. It can feel never-ending and rather soul-destroying. But just as you battle those emotions, I'm sure anyone can imagine the feeling of pure joy when the weather improves. And that the beautiful nature of your surroundings can be properly appreciated. Okay, this day has turned. I know it still looks cloudy and miserable, but it's unbelievable. It's absolutely beautiful. That valley down there, and I wasn't quite sure if the Routeburn was going to turn out. I thought it was going to be a washout completely, but not anymore. Long gone were the freezing, howling winds, now replaced by flowing streams, bird song, and the distant thunder from the storm battering the ridges on the east. This sheltered valley was outstanding. Each step I took, I got one step closer to the second lodge, but each step seemed one step too many. I really didn't want this section to finish at all. So, as we make our way down to the lodge, let's turn down the music for a moment. I'll stop narrating and you can enjoy the sounds of the Routeburn track for a moment before we head back down, check in and dry off. Okay, welcome to Routeburn Falls Lodge. And what a great descent, what a great mixed day. Up in the freezing rain, down with the beautiful views. As usual, I'm going to check in to my dorm room, and because I'm quite early, I should be the first one to choose the bed. And then I will relax, and we'll have a cheese board at 5. We'll have a lovely dinner again, and I think tonight I'm going to open a bottle of red. Because why not? Ooh. I still take you home. Yeah, I still take you home. Nice little sing-song, Paddy. Now let's do some laundry. Now let's put the wet, clean clothes in the drying room. Only a few other hikers have made it back so far, so let's enjoy watching the storm roll in. I know it's cliche, but is there a better book to read in this type of environment? Now it's time for some naughty, delicious snacks. A quick briefing. And another delicious dinner with the group. Right, time for bed. The storm is hitting us hard again tomorrow, but we have an almost all downhill, easy day.
Good morning on the last day of the Routeburn, and as you can see, the weather has turned. The storm that was forecast to arrive has arrived, and it's only going to get worse from this afternoon. So what does that mean for us? Well, we're only making our way off the mountain. We have a 3-hour hike down through the tree line, which will keep us sheltered from most of the winds. There will be gusts of up to 100-mile-an-hour winds today up on the ridge. So we actually have it quite lucky. Yes, we're going to get absolutely soaked and we might get blown over a few times, but nothing in compared to the group behind us. In fact, one of the guides has to go straight away back up the mountain to meet them at the lunch spot to help the next group make it across the pass. If they can't make it across the pass, they'll have to turn around and go back to the previous lodge and then use a helicopter to come to this lodge tomorrow if the weather allows. They really do think of everything here at Ultimate Hikes. So I suppose that's one of the reasons why it is so expensive, because they need to factor in the additional cost of moving people around these mountains via helicopter when the weather means they can't walk because of high winds. And I might be able to grab a few shots during the stormy walk back down to the bus, which will then take us to a pub, which will then take us to Queenstown, and the Routeburn will be finished. But don't worry, I'll sum up the whole hike and give you my opinions and my feedback and my honest opinion of the Routeburn. But we'll save that till the end. So just enjoy us getting soaked for a few minutes down the mountain. It's not going to be pleasant, but you might enjoy it.
Okay, so let's get wet and let's get down this mountain. It's amazing that even in this weather, New Zealand can still absolutely blow you away.
So epic.
As the storm raged, we took shelter in the tree line and we watched the rivers and the waterfalls flowing like mad. When we made it down, we changed into our dry stuff and boarded the cozy, warm bus. About an hour down the road, we stopped at a country pub for a quick pint and a packet of crisps.
I'm not bothered about. All I want to know is what is the score? Did we win? Or did we lose?
And then, that was it. The Routeburn was over.
Okay, so that was the Routeburn video. This was the second review of an ultimate hike on this channel. If you missed the Milford Track video, I'll link it in the description. I did the Milford Track right before I did the Routeburn. I only had a 1-day break in between the two. So if you are looking at maybe doing the Milford or the Routeburn, then yeah, give that video a little look. It might help you decide which one to take. In that video, I did actually mention a few important things that I forgot to mention in this video, like
there was a big meeting back in Queenstown before we did the Milford Track, where they gave us the ability to rent for free, to borrow basically, a backpack, a bag liner, a rain jacket, and there were a few other items that you could actually borrow from Ultimate Hikes. So that was included in the price, as well as all of the transfers to the trailhead and back, which I did include in this video, but just very briefly. They did take a couple of hours to get to the start of the trailhead and a couple of hours to get back, so that obviously factors in again with the cost. And so just talking about the costs, the Routeburn is cheaper, but that's because it's only 3 days in comparison to 5 days on the Milford Track. So I paid, because I did the multi-share, obviously you saw that I was staying in dorms, I paid 1,930 New Zealand dollars, nearly 2,000 New Zealand dollars for a 3-day hike. It's not cheap. And if I bumped up to a queen room, if I wanted a private room, or if I had a friend and we were going to do a twin, it'd still be $2,545 per person. So it's very expensive, but it is cheaper than the Milford Track. The Milford Track was around about $800 more expensive, but again, that was a couple of days longer, and it included a private, well, it wasn't really a private tour of Milford Sound, it's just that we were the only people on the boat because it was early in the morning. Ultimate Hikes also have this other thing called the Classic, which actually combines the Routeburn and the Milford Track. I didn't actually know that that was a thing, but I think I might have saved a little bit of money. But I really enjoyed, like you saw at the beginning of this video, I really enjoyed my night in Anau to do my own thing. I actually made some friends at the Backpackers Hostel, we played Frisbee, we had a few beers on the lawn, and it was cool. So I'm glad that I was able to just do my own thing for a day and not get chucked into a hotel with the same people that I've been, you know, lodging with on the Milford Track. Anyway, the real important question is the Routeburn worth 2,000 New Zealand dollars or just under to go for a walk? And the answer is yes, because look, I know there's a lot of people in the comment section, especially on the Milford Track, they say, yeah, but you can do it much cheaper if you go in the huts, if you apply to go in the huts. There are huts. You saw it on the Routeburn. There are huts and campsites. You are able to camp and stay in the national park huts, but they book up really early in the season. They book up 6 months, 9 months in advance. And there are limited spaces, and as soon as they go live, just like crazy Swifties who jump on to get their Eras Tour tickets, right? And it's manic. It's like that for these huts. You've literally got to be at your computer the second that the hut's open for booking. And so if you're like me and you're just doing your thing 9 months before, not realizing, you're not going to get a hut. So the only other option is to use Ultimate Hikes. So 90% of people doing this hike do it with Ultimate Hikes because they weren't there to book the huts. And so it's worth it because this is basically your only option. It's worth it because the accommodations are incredible. You know, there's nothing better than getting into a place after a long hike and you're cold and you're wet and you get snacks, you get drinks, you can have a hot shower, you can dry and clean your clothes, ready for tomorrow to put warm hiking boots on. That in itself is almost worth the ticket price. But then they give you lunch, they give you breakfast, they give you dinner, they let you buy beers and wine, they do entertainment, there's board games, there's lots of other people you can talk to and meet and share stories with. And obviously the highlight is the nature and New Zealand itself. These parks, these tracks, these hikes are just so beautiful, even in bad weather. As you saw, the Routeburn was almost a washout. Just an amazing experience from start to finish, and New Zealand just keeps revealing itself as the most beautiful country in the world to me. In the next installment on this series, we're heading over to Mount Cook, and then we're heading down to Wanaka and finishing again in Queenstown. So we've still got lots of beautiful things to experience together on this channel, so subscribe if you're new. And I really hope you enjoyed this video and this mini series of the Milford and the Routeburn track, kind of sandwiched inside a New Zealand adventure. I think these two go together because we use the same company, it's the same kind of content, just two different parts of the Fiordlands, and yeah, just amazing, amazing. So anyway, subscribe if you're new, like the video, it's completely free to do and it'll really help other people find this video if they're thinking about booking, and it helps me. So if you did smile, giggle, or think it was useful, do me a favor and hit subscribe and hit the like button, and I'll see you next week.